Rain streaked the glass like tears that refused to stop falling, blurring the gray of the morning into soft ripples of light. Megan Turner sat by the window of the small café where she used to meet her husband every Thursday for lunch, her hands wrapped around a cup of lukewarm coffee that had long lost its warmth. The seat across from her was empty now, just like the years she'd spent waiting for someone who had already emotionally left her. 2 months ago, Daniel had walked out after 22 years of marriage, leaving behind nothing but a note that read, "I need to feel alive again." Megan had read those words 100 times, trying to find herself somewhere in them, but all she saw was the reflection of a woman who no longer recognized who she had become. If you believe that kindness, second chances, and quiet acts of love can heal what's broken, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps more people find hope through stories like this one. For most of her adult life, Megan had been a wife, a mother, a helper. She'd built her world around others, always making sure everyone else was okay before thinking of herself. But when Daniel left for a younger woman he'd met during a business trip, the world she'd so carefully built shattered. Her grown daughter, Emily, lived 2 states away, and her calls, though filled with love, couldn't patch the hole in Megan's chest. She spent her mornings wandering through town, pretending to run errands, pretending to have somewhere to be. The silence of her house haunted her. The laughter that once filled the kitchen had become memories she was scared to replay because they hurt too much. One gray afternoon, with the chill of late November in the air, Megan found herself stepping into a small bookstore cafe on the corner of Maple and 3rd. The place smelled of old paper and roasted beans, and it instantly felt safe in a way she couldn't explain. She ordered tea instead of coffee, her therapist's suggestion for gentler mornings, and sat near the window, watching the rain dance against the glass. That's when she noticed a little girl sitting alone at a nearby table, swinging her legs and drawing in a small sketchbook. Her father, a man in his early 30s with tired eyes and a kind face, stood at the counter talking to the barista. The girl suddenly looked up and smiled at Megan, holding up her sketchbook proudly, a drawing of a cat wearing a crown. Megan couldn't help but smile back. "That's beautiful," she said softly, though she wasn't sure the girl could hear. When the father returned with their drinks, he thanked Megan for watching his daughter for a moment and introduced himself. His name was Evan Carter, and his daughter was Lily. He was a high school English teacher, a single father for nearly 3 years since his wife had passed away from a sudden illness. He apologized if Lily had bothered her, but Megan shook her head and said, "She didn't bother me at all. It's been a long time since I've seen that kind of joy." From that day on, Megan began visiting the cafe regularly. Some days Evan and Lily were there, other days not. But when they were, the air felt lighter. Lily would wave from across the room, sometimes rushing over to show Megan her latest drawing. Evan would smile apologetically, though there was always warmth in his eyes. Over time, brief conversations became longer ones. He told her about the challenges of balancing work and parenthood, how lonely nights could get after putting Lily to bed, and how he sometimes missed having someone to share silence with. Megan told him about Daniel, though carefully, slowly, like peeling back layers of an old wound. Winter deepened, and so did their quiet friendship. On Christmas Eve, Evan invited her to join them for hot chocolate and a small tree lighting event downtown. She almost said no, out of habit, out of fear, but something in Lily's hopeful smile made her agree. That night, standing beneath the soft glow of fairy lights and the smell of roasted chestnuts, Megan felt something stir in her chest. It wasn't love, not yet. It was something simpler, something more profound. She felt seen. In January, her divorce papers arrived in the mail. She sat on her couch staring at the envelope for hours before finally opening it. The finality of it hit her like a cold wave. 22 years reduced to a few signatures. That evening, Evan called, sensing something in her tone when she'd texted earlier. "Do you want to come by for dinner?" he asked. "Lily's insisting we make too much spaghetti." She hesitated, but when she arrived, Lily greeted her at the door wearing an apron covered in flour. The house smelled like garlic and laughter. Evan looked up from the kitchen, smiling as though she was part of that world already. For the first time in months, Megan didn't feel like a ghost haunting her own life. As the months passed, she began helping Evan with small things, watching Lily after school when his work ran late, helping organize his classroom books, or sharing recipes he swore he could never master. Their lives began weaving together in quiet, unintentional ways. Yet Megan still fought guilt and doubt. She told herself she was too old to start over, that Evan deserved someone younger, someone unscarred by betrayal. One evening after dinner, she tried to pull away. She told him she needed space to think. Evan nodded, though his eyes betrayed a softness that broke her heart. "Take all the time you need," he said. "Just don't stop living while you do." Weeks went by without contact. She busied herself volunteering at the library and attending a book club she barely listened to. But one stormy night, a knock on her door startled her. When she opened it, Evan stood there, soaked and pale. "I didn't know where else to go," he said quietly. "Lily's sick, and the hospital said it might be pneumonia. She keeps asking for you." Megan didn't think twice. She grabbed her coat and followed him into the rain. At the hospital, Lily lay small and fragile in the bed, her cheeks flushed with fever. When she saw Megan, she whispered, "You came." Megan took her hand, tears slipping down her face. They spent the night together, the three of them, waiting, praying, hoping. When dawn finally broke, and the doctor said Lily would be okay, Megan realized something she'd been too afraid to admit. She loved them both, not in the way she'd loved Daniel, which was built on expectation and fear of losing. This love was quiet, steady, born out of shared brokenness and gentle understanding. After Lily recovered, life slowly returned to normal, but something between Megan and Evan had changed. One Saturday morning, they met at the same cafe where they first crossed paths. The rain outside looked almost identical to that day months ago. She sat across from him, holding a mug of coffee this time, and said softly, "You and Lily, you've given me more than you'll ever know." Evan smiled, his eyes warm but filled with unspoken emotion. "You gave us something too," he said. "A reason to believe that people can find each other when they need it most." The months that followed were filled with quiet moments that made up a kind of love story not often told, the kind that doesn't need grand gestures, just gentle consistency. Evan never tried to fix her pain, he simply made space for it. Lily would often tug at Megan's sleeve and say, "You should stay for dinner," and each time she found it harder to leave. Slowly she began packing away the remnants of her old life. Not out of anger, but out of peace. One spring afternoon, while helping Evan organize his classroom for the end of the school year, Megan found a folded note tucked inside one of the novels. It was from a student who had written, "Thank you for being the kind of teacher who makes people believe they still matter." She smiled, realizing that's exactly what Evan had done for her. She'd spent so long believing her worth had an expiration date, that her best days were behind her. But in the warmth of this small family, in the laughter of a little girl who called her Miss Megan with so much affection, she discovered a new truth, that kindness has the power to rebuild what heartbreak destroys. Months later, at the same bookstore cafe, Evan and Megan sat by the window again. Lily was at a nearby table, drawing another picture, this time of three people holding hands under the rain. Megan smiled, her fingers brushing against Evan's as the clouds broke and sunlight streamed through the glass. She realized that love didn't need to arrive with fireworks or promises. It could come quietly, like the rain easing after a long storm. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps us bring more real, emotional stories to people who need hope. Before you go, tell us in the comments, do you believe kindness can truly heal someone's broken heart? Because sometimes, it's not the loudest love that saves us. It's the quiet kindness of someone who chooses to stay when everyone else has left.